I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw a drink in his face. I didn't walk out. I just stood there in the middle of my own retirement party, surrounded by 200 people I'd known for 40 years, and I smiled. A small, quiet smile. The kind that doesn't reach your eyes. My nephew Marcus was still laughing. His friends were laughing too. The microphone was still in his hand from the speech he'd just given, the speech that was supposed to honor me. Instead, he'd spent 10 minutes telling everyone how I was finally getting out of the way, so the business could enter the 21st century. Let's be honest, he'd said, grinning at the crowd. Uncle Thomas is a relic. Great guy, sure, but he still uses a flip phone. He thinks social media is a waste of time. He wouldn't know a Tesla from a toaster. People had laughed, nervous laughs at first, then louder when they realized I wasn't stopping him. So here's to the old man finally hanging it up. Marcus raised his glass. May your golf game improve, because God knows your business sense couldn't get any worse. The room had gone silent then, waiting for me to react, waiting for me to defend myself, or make a joke, or do something. But I just smiled, because Marcus had forgotten something very important. Something I'd learned in 43 years of selling cars, building dealerships, and turning a single lot into an empire worth $80 million. Revenge isn't loud, it's silent, it's methodical, and it's already in motion before your enemy even knows they've made a mistake. I left the party early, told people I was tired, gave Marcus a pat on the shoulder and said, "Good speech, son." He looked confused for a second, then relieved, like maybe he'd been worried I'd fire him or cut him out. I drove home in my 2015 Ford F-150, 300,000 miles on it, ran like new. I'd bought it cash the day I sold my first dealership for $12 million. Marcus had a new Mercedes every year. Leased, of course. He didn't believe in actually owning things. My wife Patricia was already in bed when I got home. She'd left the party right after Marcus's speech. Didn't say a word to anyone, just walked out. "You okay?" she asked when I came into the bedroom. "Fine," I said. "Thomas," she sat up. "What he said tonight was interesting." She stared at me. Interesting? Very revealing. I loosened my tie. I learned a lot about what Marcus thinks of me. He's an ungrateful little. "He's young," I said. "He thinks he knows everything. That's normal." "Normal?" Patricia's voice went up. "Thomas, he humiliated you in front of everyone. Your employees, your friends, people you've done business with for decades." "I know. And you're just going to let it go?" I sat down on the edge of the bed, took off my shoes. "Remember what I told you when we first got married? When your sister borrowed $5,000 and never paid it back?" Patricia frowned. "You said, people who disrespect you always reveal themselves eventually. And when they do, you'll know exactly who they are." "Right." I nodded. Marcus revealed himself tonight. Now I know exactly who he is. "So, what are you going to do?" "Sleep," I said. "Big day tomorrow." I didn't sleep much that night, but not because I was angry. I was planning. See, here's what Marcus didn't know. What nobody at that party knew except me and my lawyer. Everything Marcus had, I'd given him. The house he lived in, I'd co-signed the mortgage. Put down 40% when the bank wouldn't approve him. The salary he made as vice president of operations, $220,000 a year. More than he'd ever earned at his previous job selling used Hondas in Tampa. The company car, the expense account, the annual bonuses, all came from the business I'd built from nothing. But most importantly, the 20% ownership stake he had in Preston Automotive Group, I'd given him that 5 years ago as a wedding gift. Told him he'd earned it, that he was family, that I trusted him to help run things when I stepped back. What Marcus didn't understand was that I'd structured everything very, very carefully. I'd started with one lot in 1982, used cars, nothing fancy. I was 20 years old and had saved $7,000 working construction. Bought 12 cars at auction, sold them in 6 weeks, made $4,000 profit. That was the beginning. Over the next 40 years, I'd built Preston Automotive Group into 17 dealerships across 3 states. Ford, Chevrolet, Toyota, Honda. We sold 28,000 vehicles a year, employed 460 people. I'd done it without investors, without partners. Every dollar came from me. Every risk was mine alone. Until Marcus. He'd come to me 8 years ago, 29 years old, just divorced, lost his job, living in his mother's basement. "Uncle Thomas," he'd said, "I need a chance. I'm good at sales. I just need someone to believe in me." My sister had called me crying, begged me to help her son, said he was depressed, said he needed purpose. So I gave him a chance, started him at the bottom, sales floor, base salary plus commission. He worked hard, I'll give him that. Had natural charisma. Customers liked him. After 2 years, I moved him to finance, taught him the business side, margins, inventory, supplier relationships. After 4 years, I made him a general manager. Let him run the biggest lot. He did well. Increased sales by 18% his first year. After 6 years, I made him VP. Gave him oversight of all 17 locations. Paid him more than any employee I'd ever had. And after 7 years, I gave him 20% ownership. Made him my heir apparent. I'd done all of this because I believed in family, because I believed in loyalty, because Marcus was my sister's son, and I wanted to give him the opportunities I'd had to fight for. But here's what I'd also done. I'd put clauses in every contract, every agreement, every piece of paper Marcus had ever signed, because I'm not stupid. The ownership agreement had a buy-sell clause. If either party wanted out, we had to offer to sell our shares to the other at fair market value. And if we couldn't agree on a price, it went to arbitration. But here's the key part Marcus had never paid attention to when he signed it. If either party engaged in conduct detrimental to the business or the other party's reputation, the innocent party could force a buyout at a price determined by an independent auditor. Conduct detrimental to the business, like publicly humiliating the founder and CEO at his retirement party. The mortgage I'd co-signed had a clause that if Marcus defaulted or if I removed my guarantee, the bank could call the full loan due in 30 days. The salary, the car, the expenses, all tied to his employment, which was at will. I'd learned a long time ago that you protect yourself, not because you expect the worst from people, but because when the worst happens, you need to be ready. The morning after the party, I was in my office at 6 a.m. The dealership didn't open until 9, but I'd always been an early riser. First call was to Richard Chen, my attorney. We'd worked together for 23 years. "Tom," he answered on the second ring, "I saw the video." "Video?" Someone posted it online. Marcus's speech. It's got 40,000 views already. I closed my eyes. Of course, someone filmed it. "Good," I said. "Good?" Makes everything easier. "Richard, I need you to draft a notice of termination for Marcus. Effective, immediately." Silence on the other end. Then, "Are you sure?" He violated the conduct clause in his employment contract. Public disparagement of the company and its leadership. I want him out today. Okay. What else? Activate the buy-sell provision in the ownership agreement. I'm buying his 20%. Have an independent auditor determine fair market value. I want this done in 30 days. That's aggressive, Tom. He was aggressive first. All right. Anything else? Pull my guarantee on his mortgage. Notify the bank this morning. Another pause. Tom, that'll put him in default. He'll lose the house. That's between him and the bank. His wife just had a baby. I sent a very generous gift when their daughter was born. 2 months ago, a $50,000 contribution to her college fund. Marcus sent me a text that said thanks. Not a call. Not a visit. A text. Understood. One more thing, I said. I need you to draft separation agreements for Jennifer Walsh, David Kim, and Scott Morrison. I'm offering them positions at a new company I'm forming. Same salaries, same benefits, plus a 20% raise and equity options. Richard whistled. Jennifer's your CFO. David runs your service departments. Scott's your top salesman. Correct. You're gutting Marcus's management team. I'm hiring talented people who've been underpaid and undervalued. That's not my fault. When do you want to tell them? Today. I'm meeting each of them this morning before Marcus gets in. Tom, Richard's voice got quiet. I've known you a long time. This is the nuclear option. Once you do this, there's no going back. Marcus is your nephew. Marcus decided what kind of nephew he wanted to be last night. Your sister will call me, and I'll explain exactly what her son did and why he's facing the consequences of his actions. She raised him. She knows what kind of person he is. This won't surprise her as much as you think. I hung up and started making calls. Jennifer Walsh arrived at 7. She was 42, had been with me for 9 years. Brilliant with numbers. Could spot a problem in the books before anyone else even knew to look. Tom? She came into my office looking concerned. Is everything okay? Your assistant said it was urgent. Sit down, Jennifer. She sat, folded her hands in her lap, waiting. How long have you wanted to quit? I asked. Her eyes widened. I don't. Jennifer, we've worked together almost a decade. I know when someone's unhappy. How long? She looked down. 6 months. Since Marcus took over day-to-day operations. He doesn't listen, she said quietly. He thinks he knows better than everyone. Last month, he overruled my recommendation on the Toyota inventory. We're now sitting on 140 units we can't move. I know. You know? I review every report, every number. Just because I'm stepping back doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. I leaned forward. Here's what I'm offering you. I'm starting a new company. Preston Select Motors. High-end used cars. Luxury market. I want you to be CFO and part owner. 5% equity. Salary of $275. Plus bonuses based on profit. Jennifer stared at me. I don't understand. Marcus is out. As of today. I'm buying him out and starting over. Smaller operation. Better quality. I want people who actually care about the business. People who know what they're doing. You're firing Marcus? I'm terminating his employment and forcing him to sell his shares. Big difference. Because of last night. You saw it? Everyone saw it, Tom. It's all over Facebook. I nodded. Then you understand why I can't work with someone who has that little respect for me or this company. What about the 17 dealerships? I'm keeping 4, selling the rest, going back to basics. Quality over quantity. I'm 63 years old, Jennifer. I don't want to manage an empire anymore. I want to build something good. And you want me to help, only if you want to. This is not charity. This is me recognizing talent and offering you an opportunity. You can say no. I'll give you a glowing reference and 3 months severance. No hard feelings. She didn't hesitate. I'm in. Good. Talk to Richard Chen today. He'll have the contracts ready. David Kim was next. 51 years old, former Marine, ran the service departments for all 17 locations. Marcus had tried to outsource maintenance to save money. David had fought him on it. Marcus had overruled him. I need someone who understands that quality service keeps customers coming back, I told David. Marcus thinks it's all about the sale. But you and I both know retention is where the real money is. He called me a dinosaur last month, David said. Said I needed to modernize my thinking. You have 30 years' experience. You've forgotten more about car maintenance than Marcus will ever know. I'm offering you VP of Operations at the new company. 3% equity, $240 salary. David nodded slowly. When do I start? Monday. Scott Morrison was the toughest conversation. He was only 34, but he'd been my top salesman for 7 years. Sold more cars than anyone. Had a gift for reading people. Marcus had been trying to poach Scott's commission for months. Taking credit for deals Scott closed. I know what Marcus has been doing, I told Scott. I know he's been stealing your commissions, claiming he assisted on sales you made yourself. Scott's jaw tightened. I didn't want to come to you. I thought I could handle it. You shouldn't have to handle it. That's my job as the owner, and I failed you by letting Marcus get away with it. So what now? Now I'm giving you a chance to be a partner. 2% equity. Sales director at the new company. Base of 180 plus commission structure that's actually fair. And Scott, every dollar you earn will be yours. No one taking credit for your work. What about Marcus? What about him? He's going to lose his mind when he finds out we all left. That's not your problem. Scott grinned. When do I tell him? You don't. Richard will deliver the paperwork. You just don't show up on Monday. By 9 a.m., I had my team. By 10 a.m., Richard had filed the termination paperwork and the buy-sell notice. Marcus rolled in at 10:30, an hour and a half late, normal for him lately. He walked past my office without even looking in. Went straight to his corner office, the one with the view of the parking lot, the one I'd given him when he made VP. I waited. At 11:15, Richard walked into the building with 2 security guards. He went straight to Marcus's office. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I heard Marcus's voice rise. Heard him shout, "What the fuck?" Heard something hit the wall. 5 minutes later, Richard came to my office. It's done. He's been notified. Security is escorting him out now. Did he threaten to sue? Multiple times. I reminded him about the morality clause, the video evidence, the witness statements from the party. He stopped talking. Good. Tom. Richard sat down. He's devastated. He should have thought about that before he decided to humiliate me in front of 200 people. I know. I'm just saying, this is going to get ugly. Your sister will hear my side of the story. And then she'll have to decide whether she raised a son who takes responsibility for his actions or one who plays the victim. Marcus was escorted past my office. His face was red. He was carrying a box with his personal items. The security guards flanked him on either side. He stopped at my door, stared at me. "This is because of last night," he said. "This is because you violated your employment contract and your fiduciary duty as a shareholder." I was joking. Were you? "Uncle Thomas, I'm sorry. I didn't mean..." "Yes, you did. You meant every word. You've been thinking it for months, maybe years. Last night you just said it out loud. I'll apologize, publicly. I'll post a video. Marcus." I stood up. "When I gave you a job 8 years ago, what did I tell you?" He swallowed. "That you were giving me a chance to prove myself. And did you? I've worked my ass off for this company. You've worked for a paycheck. There's a difference." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you never cared about the business. You cared about what the business could give you, the money, the status, the power. But you never once asked yourself what you could give back. That's not fair." "Fair?" I walked around my desk, stood in front of him. "I gave you a job when no one else would hire you. I taught you everything you know. I made you a VP. I gave you 20% ownership. I co-signed your mortgage. I paid for your wedding. I contributed $50,000 to your daughter's college fund." Marcus's face went pale. "And you thanked me by calling me a relic in front of everyone I've ever worked with." "Uncle Thomas, you're not fired because you told a joke, Marcus. You're fired because you showed me who you really are. And I don't do business with people like that." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "You're really doing this." "I already did it. My 20%. Being purchased. Fair market value. You'll have a check in 30 days. That house? Talk to your bank. I have a wife. A baby. Then you should have thought about them before you decided to burn the bridge with the one person who supported you your entire adult life." The security guards touched his elbow. He jerked away. "This is bullshit," Marcus said. "I'll sue you." "For what? Enforcing a contract you signed? Be my guest. My lawyers are better than any you can afford. My mother will hear my side of the story. And then you'll have to explain to her why you thought it was okay to disrespect her brother at his retirement party." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. For a second, he looked like the kid who'd come to me 8 years ago. Lost, desperate. "Please," he said, "don't do this." "I already did." The guards let him out. I watched him walk across the parking lot to his Mercedes. Watched him sit in the car for 10 minutes, staring at the steering wheel. Then he drove away. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just the quiet certainty that I'd done what needed to be done. The next few weeks were chaos. Marcus tried to contest the buy-sell agreement. Richard shut that down with the video evidence and signed statements from 12 people who attended the party. Marcus tried to rally the other employees against me. But when they found out he'd been fired for cause, most of them stayed quiet. A few actually thanked me. Apparently Marcus had been a nightmare to work for. Marcus tried to get his mother to intervene. My sister called me crying, Asked how I could do this to family. I told her exactly what happened. Sent her the video. Sent her the financial records showing how much I'd given Marcus over the years. She called me back 3 hours later. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I didn't know he'd become this person. Neither did I until last night. What's going to happen to him? That's up to him. He's getting bought out for about $3 million. That's more than enough to start over if he's smart about it. He won't be smart about it. Then he'll learn a hard lesson." She was right. Marcus wasn't smart about it. He bought a new house before the check even cleared, bigger than the one he'd lost, financed it at 6% because his credit was trashed from the mortgage default. He bought 2 new cars, cash, one for him, one for his wife. He invested $200,000 in some cryptocurrency scheme his buddy was running. Lost it all in 3 months. By the time he realized he needed to make the money last, he'd burned through half of it. Meanwhile, I was building Preston Select Motors. We started with 2 locations, high-end used cars, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Porsche, cars that held their value, cars that attracted customers who appreciated quality. Jennifer, David, and Scott were incredible. Turns out when you treat people with respect and give them ownership, they perform better than you ever imagined. First year, we did $38 million in sales. Profit margin of 19%, way higher than the industry average of 8%. Second year, $62 million, 22% profit. Third year, we added a 3rd location, $90 million in sales. By year 4, Preston Select Motors was more profitable than Preston Automotive Group had ever been, even with 17 locations. And I was working 4 days a week, no stress, no empire to manage. Just good cars, good people, and good business. Marcus, meanwhile, ran out of money. The house payments were killing him, the car payments, the lifestyle he'd gotten used to. He tried to start his own dealership, failed in 8 months. Turns out he didn't actually know how to run a business. He'd just been coasting on what I'd built. He burned bridges with every dealership in the state trying to get hired. Word got around about what he'd done, about the party, about getting fired for cause. Nobody wanted to touch him. His wife left him, took the baby, moved back in with her parents. He lost the house. Again, I heard all of this through my sister. She'd call every few months with updates, each one worse than the last. "He's asking if you'd give him another chance," she said one day, 3 years after the party. "No, Thomas, he's my son, and he's a grown man who made his choices. I'm not responsible for fixing his mistakes. He's learned his lesson." "Has he?" Silence. "He's broke, Thomas. He's living in a studio apartment, working at a car wash. Good. Maybe manual labor will teach him some humility." "You're being cruel." "I'm being consistent. Marcus had everything, and he threw it away because he couldn't keep his mouth shut, because he thought he was smarter than everyone else, because he had no respect for the person who gave him everything he had." "So that's it? You're just done with him?" "I'm done enabling him. If Marcus wants to rebuild his life, he can do it the same way I did, from the bottom up, with hard work and humility. But I'm not going to give him another shortcut. What if he apologizes? He had 3 years to apologize. He hasn't. He's embarrassed." "Good." My sister hung up on me. Didn't call again for 6 months. Then one day, 4 years after the party, Marcus showed up at my office. I was reviewing inventory reports when my assistant knocked. "Tom, Marcus is here. He doesn't have an appointment." I looked up. "Does he look angry?" "He looks broken." I thought about it. "Send him in." Marcus walked in looking like a different person. Thinner, older. His clothes were clean but worn. His hair was graying at the temples. "Uncle Thomas," he said. "Marcus, I don't have much time. I'm on my lunch break. I work at the Jiffy Lube on Manchester. I heard you were at a car wash. Got fired for being late too many times. Jiffy Lube pays better anyway." He stood there, awkwardly, hands in his pockets. "Can I sit?" "Go ahead." He sat, stared at his hands. "I'm sorry," he said. "Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say?" "I don't know. I guess I thought you'd tell me I was an idiot." "You were an idiot." He nodded. "Yeah, I was. Is that all? No. He looked up at me. I'm here to tell you I get it now. What you were teaching me. All those years. I didn't understand then. I thought it was just business. Just numbers and sales and profits. But it wasn't. What was it? Respect, loyalty, hard work. All those cliché things you'd say that I'd roll my eyes at. He laughed bitterly. I thought I knew better. Thought you were old-fashioned. Out of touch. You made that pretty clear. I was wrong. He wiped his eyes. I've spent 4 years trying to figure out how I ended up here. Working minimum wage. Living in a shithole. My wife gone. My daughter growing up without me. And the answer is always the same. What's that? I thought success was something you deserved. Just for being smart or charming or working hard. But you taught me it's something you earn. Through respect. Through integrity. Through treating people right. And I didn't do any of that. I didn't say anything. I'm not here to ask for a job, Marcus said. I know that's not happening. I'm just here to say I'm sorry. For what I said at the party. For disrespecting you. For throwing away everything you gave me. You didn't deserve that. No, I said. I didn't. I know you hate me. I don't hate you, Marcus. Then why? Because you needed to learn that actions have consequences. That you can't treat people like garbage and expect them to keep supporting you. That family isn't an excuse to be a terrible person. He nodded slowly. Did I learn it? Did you? I think so. Too late. But yeah. I leaned back in my chair, studied him. He looked sincere. But sincerity is cheap when you've lost everything. What do you want? I asked. Nothing. I just wanted to apologize. Face to face, man to man. And then what? Then I go back to work. Keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe in a few years I'll save enough to take some community college classes. Learn a real skill. I don't know. I'm just trying to survive right now. I thought about it. Thought about the kid who'd come to me 8 years ago asking for a chance. Thought about the man who'd humiliated me in front of 200 people. Thought about the broken person sitting in front of me now. You still know cars? I asked. He looked confused. Yeah. I mean, I'm rusty on the sales stuff, but I know the mechanics. The service side. David Kim needs another tech. Entry level. $18 an hour. No benefits for the first 90 days. You'd be working oil changes and tire rotations? Marcus stared at me. If you want it, I said. If you're willing to start at the absolute bottom. If you're willing to show up on time every day. If you're willing to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. If you're willing to prove that you actually learned something from all this. You'd give me another chance? I'd give you an opportunity to earn another chance. Big difference. Why? Because despite everything, you're still my nephew. And because I believe people can change if they want to badly enough. But Marcus? I leaned forward. This is it. One chance. You screw up. You're done. Not just with this job. With this family. Forever. I understand. Do you? Yes, sir. Report to David on Monday, 6 a.m. Bring your own tools. He stood up, wiped his eyes again. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank me in 5 years if you're still here. He left. I didn't know if he'd show up Monday. Didn't know if this was real or just desperation talking. But Monday morning at 5:45, David called me. Marcus is here, he said. 45 minutes early. Brought his tools. Asked what he should do first. Put him to work. That's it? That's it. 5 years later, Marcus is still here. He's not a VP. He's not an owner. He's a senior technician making $60,000 a year. He works 45 hours a week, shows up early, stays late when we need him. He lives in a modest apartment, drives a used Honda Civic, sees his daughter every other weekend. He's not the person he was, but he's not the person he could have been either. Sometimes I wonder if I was too hard on him, if there was another way. But then I remember that night, the microphone in his hand, the laughter, the contempt in his eyes. And I remember that respect isn't negotiable, that loyalty matters, that family is a privilege, not a right. Marcus learned that lesson the hard way, but at least he learned it. I'm 71 now, still working 3 days a week, still involved in the business, still teaching people that success isn't about how much you make. It's about how you treat people when you have the power to treat them any way you want. Marcus understands that now. It only cost him everything to figure it out. Some lessons are expensive, but they're worth it. If you actually learn,